Hi everyone, this is June. In this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about the icon of crucifixion in the Byzantine time. I might mispronounce a lot of words in this video, so I apologize in advance. Back in the Byzantine time, many people didn't have the ability to read, so icons became a very effective way of communication to the public. By crafting down important biblical stories through mosaic drawings or sculptures, help everyone who comes into the church to have an access to their religious teachings. And one of the most important stories in the Bible and in the Eastern Orthodox Church is the Crucifixion of Christ, which is the icon what we see here. This Byzantine ivory icon is a portion of a triptych, which is an artwork made up of 3 pieces or panels. This is one of the surviving part, which makes it even more precious. It's very powerful how the icon of crucifixion uses a very simple composition to deliver the message of crucifixion and salvation. In the middle, there's Christ presented slumped in death. His cross goes through 3 Roman soldiers beneath him and cuts through the male figure on the bottom. This image actively shows the idea of Christ's triumph over sin and death. The 3 Roman soldiers represent sin as they are playing dice for Christ's seamless robe, and the male figure is representing death as he is the ruler of Hades, which is the underworld. This image established the central idea that Christ's crucifixion brings man's salvation. Another significant polyptych piece of iconography from the Byzantine time is this image of Saint Nicholas. This drawing was also intended to deliver the message of salvation, however in a very different way from the ivory piece that we saw. It is more from a second-person narrative. Saint Nicholas used to save sailors, so his image is set up in many churches, meaning that he is the one who kept people safe to arrive at the port. In the image, Saint Nicholas is holding a book from the Gospel of John that stated, "Christ is the door which people achieve salvation." In one of Matt's videos, Helen Evans interpreted this image as audiences being told to think about how to be saved by living the life they're out to live. And everything in it adds up to that message. We can see that this idea of salvation is being told as a second-person point of view from St. Nicholas, instead of directly from Christ's action, the crucifixion, because there's more intention on making the audience to think, react, and act about this message, instead of just knowing what salvation meant. Back to the icon of crucifixion. On the 2 sides, there's Virgin Mary and Apostle John. What I found very interesting is the complementary gestures of their hands coming from fairly similar emotions between Virgin Mary and John. Mary opened and raised her hands toward Jesus, while John closed his hands toward his face. They both expressed sorrow, however to a very different degree based on their own relationship with Christ. Here the emotions aren't strongly expressed from their facial expressions. In my unprofessional opinion, it actually fits the idea of icons. The meanings are saturated and dense inside different figures instead of creating a scene, an atmosphere. Later in the 19th century, for example, this drawing has the same topic of crucifixion, but was portrayed completely different. Here, the scene is much more complicated, and each person's emotions are clear and strong, seen on their faces. It feels like adding another layer of the author's interpretation toward this specific event. Images with narrative detail take the audience through the story. Unlike the ivory piece, the story or the message of salvation is in the unseen part between the small icons. The ivory piece gives a sense of stating facts instead of telling a story. No extra interpretation is added. The materiality of ivory also helps deliver the idea of pure solidness, like the notion of stating facts. So, the sacredness, or the actual meaning of the piece, is up to the audience interpretation upon the unseen. And this made me think about the Church of Light, built by the famous Japanese architect Tadao Ando. In the center of this church, where most traditional churches put the icon of crucifixion, Ando puts a void that is shaped as a cross to let lights come through into the space and do its work. I think this might be a very modern way of portraying crucifixion. The idea of salvation is not just a teaching, but an experience supported by the space, encouraging people to connect to it and have their own enlightenments.